Okay, so trend lines. So you just watched a video before support and resistance, all right? I'm trying to find where buyers enter and where sellers enter, okay? So basically trend lines are the same as support and resistance, but in the sense that instead of being horizontal, trend lines come off as diagonal, okay? And they do act as a support and resistance, and they do control a bounce off each price chart. So let me draw one for you, so you can see what I'm talking about, all right? Let's jump on a 30-minute time frame. So for example, okay, price is, obviously there is let's use this one, support and resistance zone, okay? We mentioned that one, but trend lines can also go sideways, okay? Quite like that. What they're good for is I personally use trend lines to determine when the trend's going to end. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if we're in a downtrend and we're being controlled by this channel, so this is a bearish channel, so this is a squash channel that price is moving towards, right? In order for the trend to end, we would really need some sort of break of the trend line, okay? Because this is a control in the downward movement. The second we break a trend line, we can expect a new trend to occur. Okay. Now we have 10 trend lines on small time frames, and we also have trend lines on high time frames. Okay. So, for example, this would perhaps just roughly be maybe like that one trend line. Okay, or we can even go like that, or like that. Doesn't really matter. But you can see that this was holding up the bullish channel. Okay, it was holding up a bullish trend. The second the trend line was broken, price retested it and came back down. Okay, so it sort of acts as a support and resistance too, because the second it was broken, it acted as a resistance, but before it was support. So we had a break and retest of the trend line to the downside, and the trend changed when the trend line was broken. So if you ask yourself, when would the trend change? When the trend line is broken. Trend line was, not broken 2-3 times, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. On the fourth time, we had a bullish engulfing candle, buyers pushed past the overall trend, and the new trend formed based on that trend line. So if you wanted to use it on a smaller time frame, you would probably use it for reversals. Okay, so downtrends occurring. When does the trend end? When the trend line is broken. Okay. Uptrends occurring. When does the downtrend begin? When the uptrend trend line is broken. So it's really good to work out how long the trend has, or when will the trend end, is you use trend lines. They're very, very powerful. If you use them on a higher time frame like this, what you will notice is that so this is what we call outer trend lines. All right, so outer trend lines are trend lines that exist on a higher time frame. Okay. So you sort of have, this probably isn't the best example, but I'll just give you one now. So you have like a smaller, picture, a smaller time frame trend line, and then you got the bigger ones on the bigger time frame, so more impactful ones, yeah? Usually when a inner trend line is broken, price will touch the outer trend line, okay? So if this trend was broken, it is possible that the outer trend line will be touched, okay, or will be reacted to, and this can go, almost any single way. And it sort of works as, probably a better example this one here. It sort of works as the same as support and resistance. So the more touches it gets, the stronger the trend line. And if it acts as a support and a resistance, it also is super, super strong. See, so we have a downtrend and we have a break of structure, okay? So these trend lines can be everywhere. Don't get too messy with them, but what I will say is that trend lines and support and resistance levels together, okay, so both of them together are super, super powerful. Okay, so if we had a break of this trend line, we could expect some sort of retest and then some sort of push to the outer trend line. Okay, something like that. That would make sense, all right? Or if we broke this trend line to the downside, probably some retest or push to the outer trend line. That's how it sort of works. Okay, that's a terrible arrow. That's how it sort of works. So you have the bigger time frame trend lines, which are the outer trend lines. You got the smaller time frame, which is the inner trend lines. And between the distance between the two, if there's ever a break of structure, it usually go like that. I use them personally on the smaller time frames because I really, really like the structure that builds up. So if I was to look at trend lines as beneficial, I would look for a channel like this when prices move inside a channel, okay? And the more touches, the stronger trend line. Now, I would look for a an area of value, a point in time where the trend line and the support and resistance levels are connected. This for me is a high probability setup because I have one strong key level and I've got another strong key level telling me that at this point in time it is very likely that price will continue respecting these levels. Okay, and that's pretty much how you use them. Like don't overcomplicate it. Don't use way too many. They're good for understanding when will the trend end. Okay, so this is another perfect break and retest, and the trend changes from uptrend to downtrend. Okay. Another one here. So when will the trend end? I do it to the wicks. You can do it to the bodies if you want, but you have to be so perfect about it. As long as it has a lot of touches. What I will say, is that after 2 touches, on the 3rd touch of the trend line, that is super powerful. Okay. So if I see a trend line come in, and I see it touch 1, 2, 3 times even on a 3rd touch. That for me has always been a very, very powerful touch. For whatever reason, whenever I see 2 touches of a trend line and I'm looking for that 3rd touch to come at a key, support structure, which doesn't really come here. It's a bit less. Or I guess there's one there. The 3rd touch is really powerful. Okay. It usually continues the trend quite well. So you'll find that there's always trend lines within trend lines within trend lines within different trends. The most important thing is when will the trend end? So when does the downtrend end? When this big trend line gets broken. Okay. But they also they work really well with support and resistance levels. And they work really well when they have 2 or more touches. They're very important key levels. All right. So that's how you use trend lines. You can use them on higher time frames, smaller time frames, but they add value to the overall trend. They're very, very good for trend traders.